This is a video reply to Allie from Allie's End Zone. The video is your full blown pressure, as well, overall in general, the videos thus far from Sunday, January 18th, 2026. Alright. I got some weird things to be able to explain to you, but the funny thing is, by this point, as Ozzy just explained, it's kind of one of those things like I could pick up, it's kind of like one of those, hey, I'm kind of giving you the recap so that way, be able to catch up what you missed out on. Because there's a lot that was missed out on, but at the same time, it seemed extremely uneventful. But there being a lot of events and a lot of layers and nuances that if you were going ahead and attempting to perceive through the naked eye, wouldn't be able to pick up on, you know? Like, I mean, for example, the Charm of the Smoke video. I actually had to go ahead and explain to somebody that holds a role in my forward trajectory and my ease of forward trajectory on the Charming the Smoke thing, you know? Like, and keep in mind, what made it a little bit easier with him was the fact that he knows comic books. That's something that we were able to go ahead and use as a translation point, you know? So I kind of broke down to him. I'm like, all right, so with this example, like, think about it. Tony Stark, Iron Man, Tony Stark is energy pulsars in his palms. He's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and send you a video. And I want you to keep that in mind, all right? What you're going to see is a blur. But if you were in person, what you would see is nothing. The camera literally acted as a tool to be able to see what wouldn't have been able to be seen by the naked eye. And he was confused, but he's like, okay. So I sent him that video. And then I sent him the video of what happened when the video reply with you. Like, where I'm literally going and, going ahead and pointing out a few things that I had noticed. And literally at one moment of the video, just because I'm legitimately feeling, you know, right on my hand. And I'm just like, how do I break this down? And then the fact that that blur was there to be able to go ahead and trace out, be like, all right, look right here. If this was one of those, you remember those kids like, spot the difference or what's missing in the picture type things, where like you had to go ahead and spot what was not in the right place or what was out of place, kind of like treating it like that, but there's some things that if you're just going by the naked eye would be completely mistranslated, you know? And at the same time, some that would seem misguided. Like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and break down a few, all right? So, let's go ahead and start out with my Queen's Eye Tarot, all right? Fruitful, if you look up Fruitful Seeds LLC, you'll notice in the videos that she makes, she's always fired up and ready for war. Like, straight up. And if anyone were to look by the side from the sidelines and be looking by the naked eye and not perceiving the scenario, you know, utilizing that imagination and visualizing, you know, which in order to be able to truly visualize, that requires being capable of putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. And usually it's difficult for somebody to be able to put themselves into somebody else's shoes that hasn't experienced a similar experience, you know? So, like, if somebody was looking by the naked eye, they'd be like, she just looks like a pissed off individual constantly yelling at a table of cards. Realistically, though, number one, she, even though she doesn't show her face, she doesn't hide her face either. It's right there in the thumbnail, of her channel. People are seeing a table of cards. Her and I are seeing a battlefield. And I'm literally watching from the sidelines. And I'm watching a juggernaut charging in. Like, she teaches me an alternative way to fight and an alternative way to see things, while simultaneously making sure that I keep myself in check. No abuser left uncalled out. Like, this is not the time for shit to slide. And I don't think people understand, like, with her, it was a lot easier to be able to understand, like, legit Soul Tribe. Like, because the point in time she came around was the point in time that I ended up going ahead and, pretty much putting, the Philly PD on blast with their sexploitation, extortion ring. Like going ahead and using illegal wiretaps to go and tap into people's phones, steal their nudes that they would end up sending to their significant other or the crush, or whoever they were sending it to. And then going ahead and shaking people down, being like, you got to pay some privacy money. Privacy ain't free. Despite the factor of that being obtained by breaching that person's Fourth Amendment constitutional right. I took a risk that could have killed me. Like, straight up. In that situation, like, realistically, if I had not been able to prove being capable of doing what I'm capable of doing, like, realistically, there would have been full justification to kill me, and I couldn't really argue it. Like, I understand there are people that are extremely dangerous in this world, but I also understand when you end up having groups of people where people having the capacity and the capability and the willingness to be dangerous, that sometimes in that group there are people that ultimately the reason that they ended up in the very position that they're in is because of the fact that there was somebody else that shared the same moral compass and that weren't willing to tolerate certain things, that were willing to go farther than most, but also at the same time are willing to go harder standing for what they believe in. So at that point, like, legitimately, my work, like, as far as the hunting down high risk, high violence potential, fugitives, as far as that are hiding out, and going ahead and pointing out the paper trail needed to be able to help with conviction and everything, I understand how dangerous that is. but I also understand how good I am at it. Like, I also understand that I've made enemies too when it comes down to corrupt, individuals in law enforcement. And they know I know what to look for. It's like I've proven time and again, like, hey, not only do I know what to look for, but ultimately I'm one of those people that even if you kill me, I'd be dead, but I'd be too stupid to lay the fuck down. That's a dangerous level of stubborn, but it's an effective level of stubborn. But she got to see direct impact in her community. Same thing with Intuitive Queen. Like they live within the same community. You know, I don't know if they know each other or anything, and I don't live anywhere near them. But both of them ended up showing up at the same time. You know, and I know with my Queen's Eye Tarot's factor, it was one of those like I got to see the impact you're capable of being able to make. You know, if you really stand for what you stand for, you you can't be walking into certain battles unarmed. Like that's just a quick way to die. Like there are certain things you're gonna have to learn. But if you learn, you're gonna learn to survive. And keep in mind, we've never had any conversations, like legitimately, like we've never spoken one on one. But at the same time, I don't think people understand, like, because of the timing and because of the reason, like, I fucks with her that hard. Like, straight up. All right. Now, Intuitive Queen, she, I gotta tell, ultimately, I think she has a hard time being able to see anybody taking themselves too seriously. You know? Like, she could get with the shits. And at the same time, too, like, she lets her imagination run the board, you know? And at the same time is able to go ahead and piece together such a coherent story, while at the same time going ahead and giving a legitimate explanation, while simultaneously, you know, doing the exact opposite to get to the point. It's like, no, we're going to let this cook so that way we can go ahead and see if there's any changes of dynamic, any changes of perspective, any changes of belief, you know, any updates. Like, I don't even know how to break that down. Like, it's one of those things like, you're going to get that answer, but it's going to be like 9 episodes later. So just sit back, enjoy the ride. Like, this is my show. You sit back, you're part of the audience. You're gonna get to know what you need to know, but you're gonna learn patience. All right, all right. Funny thing is, Afrozen, the Afrozen. All right. Like, first thing I want to point out, she's one of those people that whenever I go on her feed, I always point out, like, I love hearing her laugh. Because the funny thing is, she'll laugh at the misfortune of the deserving of that misfortune. Like, sing Karma right where the fuck it needs to, you know? Like, you could tell there was a lot of damage done in her life. You know, I will never question her survival story. Like, I never will. Funny thing is, the biggest confirmation of her survival story is just the levity in that laugh. You know? And at the same time, too, she she's kind of performative about it, but legitimately serious. You know? Like, for example, like when she starts off live stream and everything, she'll go ahead and she'll hold a bouquet of fake flowers, be like, flowers, 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 flowers. And keep in mind, I'll go ahead and I'll make a comment. Like, you know, somebody with the object permanence of, you know, a toddler is laughing like they just got keys jingled right in front of their face. And the funny thing is, while I'm typing that out, I'll be laughing. And then I end up having to go ahead and question myself, am I laughing because of the comment that I'm making? I've made this comment before, you know, so it's no surprise, you know. And I mean, I think by this point she's realized it's all love, you know. But am I laughing at my comment that I'm making on that observation? Or am I the toddler getting the keys jingled in front of their face and I'm just nose blind to my own bullshit? You know? And keep in mind, these are just people that it seems like, you know, just randomly online, like, you know, like, hey, do you know these people in real life? No, we don't know each other in real life. But there are certain things that have been felt out, you know, in the process of trying to feel out, like, safe, danger, you know? Because, I mean, ultimately, one of the most bitter pills to swallow when it comes down to personal healing journey is you wouldn't be on a healing journey if some damage hadn't been done along the way. You know? Well, at the same time, having to remember that that damage doesn't define somebody's worth. You know? So that laugh ends up going ahead and telling so much. Whether or not she knows it does, I don't know. I have never gotten a chance to be able to ask her. I'd like to, but I'll recognize the contribution that people end up going ahead and making along the way. You know? And by the way, I know it's a long video. It's probably going to be a multiple part video. Multiple long part. But overall, it'll be a good rundown. And it really will give you the full catch up. Alright? So, the newest part of the collective, which by the way, I want to point out, extremely young to be starting on a spiritual journey. But at the same time, funny thing is, the reasoning, same reasoning that I had when I was a kid, like little kid. All right. So there's somebody that, you know, she believed, you know, pretty much at the beginning of her spiritual journey. All right. And getting to ask the question of what beliefs do I hold in comparison to the beliefs that I have been told that I should believe. All right. This reader named Freya. All right. And the funny thing is, blasting my live feed, like just blasting my algorithm. All right. And I'm like, I don't want to acknowledge this, but not for the reasons that people think that I don't want to acknowledge this. Because, all right, funny thing is, when people end up going ahead and seeing somebody interacting with somebody that would be considered, by societal standards, you know, conventionally attractive, I don't automatically the first thought that ends up popping in mind is, nah, you're not interacting because a legitimate, genuine perception. It's ulterior motive. We know what the motive is. You know what the motive is. And the funny thing is, I don't think people even realize how wrong they could legitimately be. You know, like in the case of Freya, it quite literally, like, just imagine a little kid at the front of the class. They hand him, I I saw something. I realized something. I know something. And it's like you want to give everybody a chance to go ahead and, point out their observations. And it's like, all right, the reason I wanted to go ahead and hold off on even any type of interacting is because of the fact that, understand, number one, that screen between always will be the case. I'm not doing any type of meetup situation. It is very rare that I'd be willing to meet up with somebody because it's the internet, stranger danger, But in the case of Freya, the only way to explain it is, imagine Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls finding where the wild things are. Right? I don't know any other way to be able to explain it, right? But just imagine, all right? People tell you should be afraid of monsters because ultimately there's not enough known about monsters to, not fear them. And it's human nature to fear what you can't understand. Tell me how this person that seems like they got hooked into it on a peer pressure type situation ends up going ahead and being like, there's more than what's being seen. Like, just looking right through you. At the same time, having like this uncrushable optimism. All right. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, don't put me in the position to be the one to go ahead and corrupt Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony. I don't want to be that person. Like I'm gonna absolutely fucking take the perspective of this person that, don't get me wrong, they have their own lived experience, but at the same time, like, I've dived and delved into depths that would blow people's fucking mind. And here she is like, I'm curious. I'm not discouraged. You ever heard the saying curiosity killed the cat? Yeah, but guess what? If it kills the cat, it got 8 more lives. I'll go ahead and dodge people that legitimately want to go ahead and put a bullet in my fucking head just because they don't understand how I'm capable of being able to do what I do. Yet, meantime, basically, like I explained, here Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls basically floats on in and is like, hey, I understand you better than you think I do. I'm not afraid. Actually, I think you got some good things to say. So she's paying attention. Holy hell. Basically ending up turning into Kenpachi from Bleach was not on my 2026 bingo card, but here the fuck we are. And I know that this sounds like the ramblings of a fucking mental patient. But at this point, the same person rambling it ended up going ahead and showing a video of controlling fucking smoke by controlling the fucking air in the room. Just go with it. There are some things that cannot be explained in a way that could be grasped through an example that would be relatable to somebody that would not be open-minded to just the vastness of reality as a whole. You know? Funny thing is, I gotta say, you got a level of chill like that. It is rare. It is a beautiful thing though. Like beautiful. Like I think you could tell I'm good with words, but at the same time, I'm not good with words. I basically ended up going ahead and, trying to figure out a way to be able to portray to you, like, hey, I don't know how to explain this. Is not a love bombing or future faking type situation. This is not a manipulation tactic. I don't know how to explain to you that even if right now you do not hold legitimate significance in my world and the real world, I could tell you hold significance. And even if you don't hold significance, you will hold significance. Even if the significance, like in which direction way it ends up happening, it's one of those like you it was pretty much like you coming into the situation, which keep in mind, I know you came into the situation with all intentions to dog the fuck out of me, and I can't blame you for that, because you were probably thinking, holy shit, I'm about to witness a freak show. And it ended up coming out like, well, shit. Here I thought I knew shit, and I'm getting to learn I don't know shit, even if I know shit. Shit. I know you know what I mean. I'm making this part one. I gotta go ahead and cut it off before the half hour point, and it's at 28 minutes and 45 seconds.